Oh, well, I was going to say here we are, but here I am again. I'm waiting on Erin. I can hear her talking downstairs. The boys have arrived at the house um, after, I don't know, maybe they're out doing D&D. And now, oh, here she comes. Maybe.
Hi,
Hi,
did I do it?
what did you did?
I had to reinstall the Zoom app. Like it wouldn't open and I tried to update it, but I had to undo it and reinstall it.
Oh, so you pulled a Missy Elliott.
Well, something like that. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think you're referencing her song lyrics.
Which song lyrics?
Eh, uh, put a thing down, flip it and reverse it.
Yeah.
I
Did
love
you
Little
put your
Missy
thing down,
Elliott.
flip it, and reverse it?
I did. I did in fact flip it and reverse it, and now here we are.
Okay.
Hmm.
Hi.
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 How's it going?
Hi.
Hi.
I like you.
I like you.
They're pretty great.
You're pretty great.
Yeah, well, the people didn't show up to hear us gush at each other,
Ah, their
but
loss.
but this is the thing though, right? These results could be yours if only
Only
you
you would
read
do the
and listen
household
to the pod,
mojo.
right?
Yep.
Exercise your shit. We got some exercise. We did an exercise pose. Nobody, you know what's hilarious? We put it on, I put it on Instagram and I put it on Substack, and like nobody liked it on Substack. But but I looked at it and oh God, I got like it got 1,400 views. Which I thought was hilarious, right? So
That's a lot of
you
views.
know, I know, right? Um, and I'm not like, oh, this sounds weird. I'm mostly weirded out, right? Like, what do I do all day? I just sit at a computer and like do things. I don't love being oot and a boot. Um, so for all of you 16 listeners out there, this whole thing mostly me getting comfortable being on the internet because it really creeps me out.
I know you don't like to do the interneting.
I don't like interneting.
I don't
People
blame you.
poor thing. People look at my or they'll send me like Instagram uh messages or DMs or whatever, and then I just like don't respond for weeks or longer
I mean,
because that's how I am
that's
on
probably
that
the
thing.
sign of a healthy lifestyle if you're not on Instagram all the time.
Oh, but I'm on the computer draining my life away
I
in
know.
Python.
Well,
Wah wah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, I I have the I have my work computer open because ah, they did a reset on my computer, and I just installed a bunch of like I just had to install all my apps again.
Are you still
Um,
dealing with all that?
no, but what it did was it threw off all of the connections that I had to any files that were in my apps. So now that I've started up and I've got my apps installed, I have to go and find all of the
Oh
source
my God.
documents that they were referencing.
God damn it.
Um, and I never know when it's going to pick something up or when it's not. And so here I have a relatively minor operation that I have to run. So I'm making this pipeline from whatever data source. I've got my transformations all programmed in,
Yeah.
and then it just spits out this nice happy data set for me. But
Beautiful.
uh, all of the connections to those source files are gone.
Oh my God.
Yay!
So this thing that's supposed to be like nice and
Oh, no.
automated, now a whole big work thing for you to do.
Yeah, so I was actually the whole thing was I've been going back and recording all of my processes. So what I'll do, and again, geek at me real hard, because what I do is I'll do a screen capture and record. So I'm basically just streaming, but I'm
Yeah.
streaming and transcribing not for the internet, but for my future self. And anybody else in the company. So here's a pro tip for all of you, company corporate folk. Get your like Teams or Zoom or whatever recording device, and then transcribe it, and then just go through whatever project is that you've just completed or any sort of recurring task that you have, and walk through it, and then talk through it. And then you take that transcript that you've just made, drop it into the little AI and say, make me an SOP of this thing. And so this is what I do now is whenever I refresh any sort of recurring report or project or anything I have to do twice, right? So now I'm going to record the steps that it took me to make it. That also helps me refine each of those steps, and then I make an SOP. So now if I want to take a sick day, and somebody's like, I need this thing urgently, then I can be like, here's the video, here's the SOP, good luck.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
great.
So I was trying to record a process today, and then I realized that all of my shit was lost. So
God damn it. So you had to spend time
yay.
doing all that.
Yeah, and I work with big data, so my data sets are like millions of rows, um,
Neons.
meons.
Neons of data.
Yeah, and so that's real exciting
Yeah.
for me and probably nobody else. Like if you're still listening to this podcast episode after me talking about installing apps and redoing data
Like
sets,
data access.
yeah. They're like, can we just get more thirst traps of you doing pull-ups, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you can.
That's so funny.
I love it.
Um,
I love it.
yeah, so we had a topic that we were going to talk about, but we
We
completely
did.
forgot what it was.
Totally blanked. Both of us.
Both of us.
We even
Um,
both remember the conversation where we said, this is the thing we're going to talk about, but we do not remember what the thing is.
right?
So frustrating.
Whoops.
But then I saw your note that you made a new agenda based on our second brainstorm.
Yeah. And so again, to all you folks out there, shared notes, shared tasks, shared calendar, shared
Woo!
knowledge base.
Coming in
Um,
hot.
right? That's the thing. And I I think we came up with this. I took a couple of days off. Um,
Hey,
I say that I took days off, but I really took days off from like the day job days off. So did I really take days off? No.
not so much.
But what was the day? It was the Friday after Christmas, and I spent like the whole day playing video games.
And you know what? It felt very relaxing while it was happening. And I like sat next to you on the couch all day. And I was like, what is this life that we're
I know,
living?
right?
I don't
But then
understand.
but then I started freaking out like, "Oh my God,
Yeah.
should I be doing something? I need to
Around
do something
dinner,
productive."
around dinner, you were like, oh no, is it bad? And I was
I wasted the whole day.
I was like, no, I think it was good. I think recovery is good. But that's the thing. Recovery stresses you out because we're working towards so many really, really important things that, like, even though recovery is necessary to keep us moving towards those things, it does end up also stressing you out in a different way.
Yeah. And then, what did I do? I drew out our plan for the 2026
Yeah.
target, and I determined that I basically need 90 hours of work a week, and
Madness.
I'm only working 70, and I was just like, okay, so
Only.
only I'm gonna have to find another 20 hours, or I'm gonna have to automate the shit out of some stuff. Um,
I like
so
that second one, but
yeah.
learning how to automate is obviously another job.
Well, that's it, right? And so what I basically realized was that I basically only have about 5 hours a week um to study. And so that study time has to generate a tangible return in automation, which is also one of the reasons that I'm recording and transcribing all of my project work, is because once I've distilled it down into clearly identifiable, measurable tasks, then I can get the robots on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love.
So, to that end, right? That's
Mhm.
kind of what we were talking about. And one of the big things that I want to focus on with uh, who's it, with our newsletter with the Household Mojo is is getting everything to be a little bit more cohesive, making sure everybody kind of understands what it is. Because I'm realizing that I say things that make sense to me, that don't make sense to anybody else that's not living permanently in my head or basically hanging out with me every single day. So, oops. Uh, so the name of the game is clarity, and so how do I make it a little bit more clear what we're trying to do with the with Household Mojo? And I put it together as management consulting, right? And we got Pedro, one of my AI buddies, to help me out with designing some of the product product stuff that we're trying to build. So Household Mojo, in a nutshell, is management consulting for um, parents and couples to help them improve um, partnership and process. Right.
Yep. Yep.
So the management consulting then is basically just looking at, okay, well, how's your firm operating right now, right? What's the infrastructure? Um, what systems do you have in place? And, how are you handling your people? There's a book that my boss recommended that like the whole leadership team is reading, called Scaling Up. It's a couple of years old. And their framework is people, strategy, execution, and cash. And so I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. But the framework that we're operating off of is all of those things into one, but from a management consulting issue, or from like a business of the home perspective, right? We're focusing on the the people, strategy, and execution more than the cash component. There's something in there for that, but the peopling is not about necessarily like recruitment and hiring, but about the management and negotiation between the partners of your household, right? Your couple, but also your children as not employees, because you can't fire them even if you want to sometimes. Um, but but as apprentices, right? And having having your second, right? So the eldest, he's essentially my second, and I apprentice him. I train him on a lot of the things that I'm working on, the things that I'm learning about. Um, and I'm always quizzing them both. Um, and making sure that they understand, because like what the world is, and what they're doing for, um and we walk them through the maturity ladder, um which, and by the way, we were having this with the youngest, right? Both of them evolved, by the way, and they're now officially on the
Yeah.
dragon spectrum. So we've got Drake, who's the oldest, which is a dragon with legs, and we got a worm, WYRM, which is a dragon with no legs. So the youngest has no legs, but at least he's a dragon, right? Think basilisk from the Harry Potter, right? And then we got a dragon with legs, and so ooh, think about that, the ice monster from the frost giant realm in the
Oh
first Thor
yeah.
movie.
Yep.
You're not, do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I know what the frost giant guy is.
Okay, I was just checking because you didn't say anything, so I was just like, do you
Yeah.
get it?
Oh no, I said yes. I don't know. I feel like I've been cutting out a little bit since I reinstalled this thing. But yeah, no, I totally remember the frost giant.
Yeah, we might also just have a bit of a shaky internet connection. That might
Okay.
also be contributing by, or contributed to by uh, the thing I've got running on my secondary computer. Um,
Okay.
so I'm gonna just not mess with that. I'm gonna not mess with it. I'm not gonna multitask. I promise.
Just let it be.
Promise. Promise. I'm not multitasking. I'm not multitasking. I promise. I promise. No,
Yeah.
so we were talking about the evolution of the ownership ladders, and just to clarify what we're talking about. This is my framework, and my framework is why it's called Household Mojo. And Mojo is, um it's three things. It is your ownership, romance, and administration. So if your relationship is in trouble, if your household is in trouble, you got to fix your aura.
Right?
Right? And so, oh man, we've lost our mojo. Well, you got to fix your aura, your ownership, romance, and administration. So the ownership component is, it's three ladders, and it's all about power, distance, and orientation. That was the article that I wrote, I think last week on self-help,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And this was about, if it's like why guys don't reach out for help when they're struggling with stuff. And generally speaking, it's because they've, got one of those power orientation or distance issues, that needs to be developed, not just troubleshot, right? Because some things, yeah, you can troubleshoot, it's like a one-off. But if you have like a pattern of behavior or it's a skill deficit, then you've essentially got to climb the ladder, and those ladders might not be evenly distributed. So the
Yeah.
three ladders: maturity, responsibility, and alchemy. Maturity is like seven habits: dependent to independent to interdependent. Responsibility, or the leadership ladder, is followership, autonomy, and leadership. And then the alchemy ladder is research to engineering to sales. And most people don't think about this as an ownership quality, but it's alchemy because it's taking the thing that's in your imagination and then ultimately putting it into something tangible, and then creating something valuable from that tangible thing. And that is an ownership component, because if you can't produce something of material value to another person, then you don't have anything to trade. And in business, then you don't have a business, yo. If you can't trade
Oh.
shit, you ain't got no business, right? And at the same time, if you want to become a contributing citizen, right, then you have to have something of value to contribute. And as much as people like to get comfortable and say, oh, well, everyone has something of value. And it's like, sure. But if you don't know what that something is, you can't really offer it up for trade. Or if you're precious about it, and you don't want to trade away that thing, then you've got to find something else to become skilled at that you can trade, right? You have to develop some sort of a skill that is marketable.
Yeah.
So that's the ownership part. Romance, ironically, it's funny. I say the romance, and when I say romance, what most people think, they're like, oh, roses and going on
Oh.
dates and chocolates and
Uh-huh.
snogging, right?
Uh-huh.
But for me, romance is negotiation, management, and morale. Um,
There it is.
because what do we think of, right? When you think of romance, why are you giving her roses? Why do you like roses, Aaron? Do you like roses? I give you other flowers generally.
You do. And flowers are very pretty, and I always enjoy them and feel special when they arrive. But it's not like a thing where I'm like, oh, give me flowers for any occasion. I enjoy them because it's, like, how do I put this into words? You were very clearly thinking about me and trying to give me something beautiful. I love that.
Okay. So from your perspective, right? Let's say you're an average couple because we are not an average couple.
Yeah.
Um, what are some of the things that an average couple generally complains about from the lady side?
I am the worst person to ask. Um, they complain, I think I hear ladies complain a lot about not having any help, not being paid attention to. And my husband doesn't talk to me. He doesn't take me places. He comes home from work and he's tired and wants to stare at the TV. Nobody cleans up around the house but me.
You're cutting in and out a lot. Is
Am
it
I?
is it your connection?
I don't know. That felt fine to me.
I didn't hear like most of what you said.
Damn it. I don't know what's going on there. Okay,
Just yeah, please.
let me repeat. I think common complaints that I've read about.
Froze again.
Am I moving?
Now you're moving.
Hey. Common complaints like my husband comes home and has no energy to talk to me and just wants to crash out. Nobody helps me clean up or do household maintenance stuff. I don't get any time to myself because I'm taking care of the kids. Nobody pays attention to me. I'm undervalued and underthanked.
Okay. So would you say those things are um a lack of romance?
Trick question. I would have said yes previously, but now that I understand what your definition of a romance, actually a lack of administration that produces those things.
Okay. So the lack of administration, and I'm going to partially agree. I think the lack of administration is, do you have any other apps that are open? So like,
Nope,
no?
everything's
Well,
closed
shoot.
down.
Okay. Um, the lack of administration is a surplus issue, right? If he comes home tired from work, it's because he is not in a flow state, right? So
Hmm.
this is the difficulty versus skill level, right? And if it's really high difficulty and you've got really low skill level, then you're going to be in anxiety zone. But if
Yeah,
you are really high skill and the challenge is really low, then you're going to be in the boredom zone. So what you want is to be in that like middle channel where it's just difficult enough to provide you a challenge, but not so much that you're like dying. And then it's again enough challenge that you're not bored. So
yeah,
getting into that sort of middle zone is basically a supply and demand issue more of a supply issue. If you think about the what burnout actually is, burnout is just a supply side issue where you have more orders than you can produce product for,
Yeah.
right? Or in this case, it's like I have more work than I can actively do in the hours I have available for that work.
Yeah.
Um, and people get into like in the self-help like realm, I feel like there's a lot of nebulous information or people like give you the sort of feel goods, the like fuzzy, oh, well, just just you shouldn't work so hard. Like your things,
Work-life
things don't
balance.
need to be that difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm like, cool, I wish things didn't need to be that difficult, but sometimes they are,
Yeah. Right?
you know?
Yeah.
And then there's the other side, which is like the salesy, uh, pushy kind of guru people. And the pushy gurus are like, well, if you can't afford it, then you have to buy it. I always
Okay.
hated that line.
Me too. I'm like, well, then I literally can't afford it. I just said that.
You just froze again.
Oh, I don't know what's going on with that. I was gonna say, I also really hate that line.
Frozen again. It's like every time you start talking, it freezes you out. I'm
Yeah, I
gonna
don't
close
know.
everything just so that it's not me. Oh shit, I just closed my. I said I closed everything, and then what did I close? I closed my notes. People are gonna be like, these guys' podcast is like really informative, but they suck at like everything with production quality.
No, we don't suck at everything with production quality. We're just having some minor technical issues today.
Well, if I can't hear, every third word, if I only hear every third word you say,
Yeah, that's a problem.
NC, not Kraken.
I agree.
Okay, say it again.
Oh my God, what was I saying?
You were fuck, I don't remember.
What were we just talking about?
We
Damn
forgot
it.
what we were originally going to talk about, and then we got on
Man,
the call, and then we forgot what we were talking about while we were talking about the new thing that we were
right?
talking about.
Ridiculous. Okay,
Yikes.
what was I just saying? Hold on. Oh, you were talking about supply. Like you don't have enough hours in the day to do the thing that you
Thank
need to do.
you.
That's
Thank
what
you.
we,
Burnout. Burnout's a supply side issue.
yes.
So it's
Oh,
basically you've got no hours in the day. If you're the fluffy woo-woo person, then you're like, oh, it'll all just work out. Just stop working so hard. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm just gonna stop working so hard and then my family goes hungry. Cool. And then on the salesy guy guru side, it's oh no, you have to do this because you can't afford it. And I'm like,
yes.
why would I give you money when I'm struggling for groceries?
Well,
Like,
that's the thing I was going to say. Is I hate that line too. Every time I've heard that, like, if you can't afford it, that's a sign that you need it. I'm like, but what did I just say? I can't afford it. Not don't want to put my money there. I
oh,
cannot.
but Aaron, that's a mindset.
Oh, F you. That's not a mindset. That's a literal dollar amount in my bank account.
Right? Like the price is $10,000 and my account is $3,000. I cannot give you the money. Well, you would find a way if you were really committed. And it's like,
No,
okay, yes, I'm really committed. Or somebody's like, well, if somebody put a gun to your head, could you come up with that $7,000? And the
no,
answer is maybe in like a couple of weeks.
maybe.
You know,
But probably
maybe.
if you were like, can you guarantee that you could come up with $7,000? No.
Nope.
I
You know?
cannot guarantee that.
Yeah, it's like, well, I could make that happen, but then I would just like not eat for a week. I would just not eat for a month. But
You
then
know?
I'm dead. This is one of those things too with like entrepreneurship and like finance students is that they're like, well, this thing shows that we'll be profitable in 3 years. And it's like, yes, but did you notice that that's your profit? Yes, yeah, that's the profit. But did you notice your cash line? And you ran out of cash 6 months into the business, which means that your business stopped businessing. So even though theoretically in 3 years you would become profitable, you've been in the red 6 months hence and had to shut down. So you couldn't make it to your profitability.
100%.
And so these kinds of like sales tactics or fluffy woo woo talks are really not helpful.
No, no.
What they do is they get you emotional, and when you're in an emotional state, you're more likely to buy, right? Yikes. And so I don't want people to make bad buying decisions because they are stressed out and freaking out because they don't know how to clarify and automate, right? And then I mean that's basically it. You've got a couple of tactics for when you have a supply side issue, right? Is that you've got to increase capacity or increase efficiency, right? That's basically your options. Or I suppose you could charge more. This was economics. My economics professor is he's like, whenever you have a line, that's a sign that they're not charging enough.
Oh, bro, yo.
He loved lines, and we had like a lunch thing or like a thing with the College of Business, and I happened to be standing in line next to my econ professor, waiting for food, right? Like somebody had made like burgers and hot dogs or something, and I'm standing in line next to the prof, and I was just like, "Hey, man, they ain't charging enough." And he started cracking up. He's like, I know. And I was like, it's free. And he's like, well, but and so then I looked at the next line over and I was like, well, you could pop over to that other line, but we don't know which one is moving faster. And he's like, oh yeah, because then we would incur switching costs. So, I
My
got my
God.
my suck up moment with the professor.
Fantastic.
But again, I loved economics, so that was easy for me. So all of this to say, the admin was the core issue in what people would think of as a romance problem. But the
Mhm.
romance problem is really when somebody says, "Oh, well, we're just not in love anymore. We love each other, but we're not in love." And I remember when I was in high school, like that was such the thing is that, somebody would be like, oh, well, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Like you'd say that to your girlfriend, and like that was the way you break up with her. Do you know what I
Right?
mean?
I've heard, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah. And this is a really tough one, right? Because people still love to use that example. And what they're really doing is they're bundling up the feeling of uh adoring the other person. Orion
Like,
Terabana, he says adorer and adoree, right? Who's the
right,
one who likes, and it's really just like who likes who more,
right.
and
Who feels Twitter pated?
who's more Twitter pated.
More
And if
Twitter
you're
pated?
both Twitter pated, that's great. But
Yeah,
like generally speaking, most things aren't equal. Hey, most things aren't like literal equivalents one to one. This is exactly that. You're generally
accurate.
going to have a little bit more of something or the other, one thing or the other. And so, generally speaking, you might have one partner. You'll almost always have one partner who likes the other partner more. And so, what happens is if the the deal isn't working out in your favor. And one of the things that you wanted out of that deal was positive emotionality, right? Well, okay, I really like this person, but I'm not getting the thing that I wanted out of the deal anymore. Yeah. And
Yeah,
so this is why a lot of people get into and out of relationships is that the romance is gone because they haven't identified what the other person's BATNA is. They haven't figured out what the best alternative to a negotiated agreement is. And that's where you get monkey branching. Monkey branching is when somebody, is in a relationship with you and then they swing on to a relationship with somebody else, right? We call
Okay,
that
so they're
cheating.
scouting. They're scouting because they don't want to let go of the relationship with you until they have something they like better to swing to.
Right. And this is, I mean, strategically, it's not a bad move, right? You're moving from strength to strength. However, if you are continuously monkey branching, what you're also doing is you're diminishing trust in all successive relationships. What's that TV show we're watching? How to Get Away with Murder? The Shonda Rhimes
Yeah, yeah,
was Viola Davis is the lawyer, the law teacher,
yeah.
and oh my God,
Viola Davis and Dean Thomas from the Harry Potter movies.
right? And in like the first season of that show, like their relationship is all messed up, right?
Oh my God, it's so insane.
Yeah, because
That shit.
she thinks he's cheating, but she doesn't have evidence, and so she starts cheating, and then he's cheating, and then she finds out that he's cheating, and then she holds his cheating against her, and then she
Right?
like comes out later and says, "Well, I was cheating too." Or actually, maybe she doesn't like actually tell him, but like she uses her cheating to like make him feel bad about his cheating. But I'm like, fool, you're all cheating on each other, cheating, cheating, cheating. And it's
Everybody's
like
cheating and
none of you have
everybody's
figured
hiding.
out. Everybody's hiding their shit, and nobody's figured out what is the point where I walk away.
Yep.
That's negotiation. Y'all done fucked up your whole romance because
Hmm.
you didn't figure out what is the point where I'm not getting enough and I need to walk away.
Yeah.
That's a negotiation function.
Yeah.
Just saying. You ask any lawyer, and the lawyer will tell you. But this is
Well,
why people don't
also,
like salespeople and lawyers, is because salespeople will pitch you shit, and lawyers will out negotiate you.
yeah.
Go.
I was going to say that's probably the other reason why she didn't walk away is
You're
because she
frozen.
is, I don't know why. Tell me when
Go.
I'm back.
Go. Go. You're back.
The other
Go.
reason she probably didn't walk away is because she is a lawyer and she's like, ooh, I don't know if I want to be compelled to testify. We got some shit going on. Maybe it's better if we stay legally connected because we got some shit. So when you can
Right.
work all those angles, I mean, damn.
Right. And what an interesting couple, right? He's a psychology professor and she's a lawyer, and so they all kind of mind fucking each other, you know. Whew. So all of
Crazy.
that romance is just negotiation and management to upkeep morale. Because
Yep.
look, you got to figure out what are we in here for? What's the zone of probable agreement, right? Are you getting what you want out of this relationship? Am I getting what I want out of this relationship? And if we are not, right, then that's going to tax one or the other of us, right? If I'm not getting what I want, then now I'm having to think thoughts. I'm looking at other locations. Like where do I go to get those other needs met? Right. And so you
Love
start
that.
scouting,
I'm having to think thoughts. That was great. It's true though. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So now you remove that alternative if you know that you're getting all of the things that you have asked for in the partnership, right? In the
Right.
negotiation, right?
And you have said to me before, like, the thing to do is to like, I mean, you've said a lot of good relationship things to me before, but like when we were first together, you were like, we have to, God, I just had it. I keep losing things. Um, if you're doing your job, if you're fulfilling your part of the agreement, then, or no, that's what you said. If the other person leaves, then you weren't doing your job or you
Uh-huh.
weren't fulfilling your agreement. You said that, and I was like, oh, that's really true. And another thing you said is you're like, it behooves you if you're investing in someone to make their cost of switching really high.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is, I mean, shit. This is pricing. And you know, it's become more popular on the internet, especially amongst Gen Z, to use market metaphors for dating. And it's apt, but
It
it
doesn't
does
feel very
lose.
romantic, does
It
it?
it doesn't. But here's the rub, is that we've increased the level of complexity. It used to be that, you would go to church and everybody in town went to church, and there was a clearly defined courtship protocol that you would follow. You go and you find somebody and you're like, oh, this person is kind of cute. And then you start seeing each other, you have a chaperone kind of situation. And then, you talk to the parent, and then the parent essentially gives you the blessing once you've demonstrated appropriate levels of maturity. And then y'all get married, right? And then you are expected, like, so when are you gonna seal the deal, right?
Right?
And then you consummate the marriage, right? Like
And that's it.
that was the standard process for the Western world. And so, the church was a really um, uh, was the main facilitator of that sort of civic ruling, or civic governance, right? So the social contracts were generally handled by the church, and you look at any church, and they tend to handle that sort of a thing. But
Yeah.
the higher the atheism rate in the population, what you're essentially doing is you're creating a religion of one. So every additional religion of one creates a fractionation, and then each individual is now responsible for producing that courtship or mating contract that the church was essentially giving you a template for. And this is regardless of culture, right? So, you go to India, and then the Hindus, they have their dating and mating culture, right? You go to China, they have their dating and mating culture. You go to Mongolia, you go to, South Africa, you go to Sri Lanka, I don't know, I don't care. You go to
Where
anywhere, Mexico, you go to anywhere, and they've got their own culture and religion that basically determines how the mating protocols work,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
But in an increasingly secular and atheistic population, you now have to negotiate all of those elements because nobody's following the set template. Or they're like, I don't like this piece, so I'm going to choose the a la carte, menu. Or, like everybody does the restaurant thing where it's like, okay, well, I'm going to order the number two, but then add this and take off that, and like,
Yeah. They want to customize.
don't even, do this, I'm allergic. You know what I mean? You don't
Yeah.
get to prepackage anything. Everybody wants to
Oh, see,
customize.
I feel bad because I am that person in restaurants.
Well, you have an allergy that will kill you. So let's not feed you death. Yeah?
That would be great. That would be
So,
great.
right? I don't I don't want to have to call 911 when we're out on a date, you know?
No, thank you. That's not
So
sexy.
that right. I mean, it's less than ideal.
Yeah.
So when you have this negotiation and management handling the romance, that's essentially the function that the culture or the church was doing for you. But now, because we are so secular and atomized, we have to do it ourselves. And this is, again, like, this is how most things have been going. The larger the merchant class influences our society. And the benefit of a merchant class is, well, we got lots of patents. We're like 100x more than the next guy,
Oh
right?
my
We
God.
produce
Yeah.
crazy levels of innovation.
The gap is so
However,
big.
what it also does is it securitizes and commodifies everything.
Also, yes.
So now you have all of these people who are struggling to adjust and fill the void that a single dominant religion used to handle. But that single dominant religion didn't supply enough of the value proposition needed by the younger generations. And so there's a massive pushback, right?
Mhm.
And now you have, again, the competing ideology of, let's say, Christianity versus the state sanctioned religion, right? Or
Yeah.
the state sanctioned ideology. And now what you start to see is a lot more, separation on that dimension, right? Political versus religion, even though they're both ideological in nature, right? So romance, man, we basically just like hung out in romance territory. Um,
We did.
but again, most people aren't trained to be negotiators or managers. And so management is will skill matrix, right? How much motivation does this person have versus how skilled are they?
Mhm.
This determines whether or not they'll do an action large part. Um, are you task or relationship oriented? Those sorts of management frameworks help you identify whether or not your partner has a proclivity for focusing on maintaining our bond versus getting the job done.
Mhm.
And if your partner isn't getting the job done, but they are really strong in maintaining the relationship, how do you communicate with them in such a way that you don't damage the relationship in order to get the task done, right? Or how do you convince someone to allocate some of their resources and time and energy away from the relationship stuff to focus on the task stuff because we've got a deadline coming up, you know?
Mhm. Oh, I know.
Oh yeah. So you fix admin and you actually have more time to focus on romance. You focus on romance, you build morale, and you focus on ownership, and that's the whole deal. That's the
Yeah.
whole deal.
Yeah.
Ownership is in so many ways, it's the foundation because you'll figure all the other shit out if you're just owning your shit and you have something to provide, right?
Right? Yeah.
So um, I focused on admin because admin provides systems that allow you to offload some of your burnout, right? Now your system and your clearly defined process is handling a lot of the stuff that's stressing you out that you don't really have time to devote a lot of energy to. And the more you can offload things to reliable systems, the more time you have for your people. And so what am I? I'm the pudding. I am the pudding. Because what is my focus here? Oh, okay, I've got too much workload because my company has a relatively immature data team, and so while we have good talent, there's not a lot of organization, and I've just been like the plug in the floor to keep the ship from sinking, while the team is built around me. And I'm like, guys, I'm about to be that alien who gets sucked out of the spaceship because, because I'm plugging the floor. Help,
Yeah.
help me, please. So, I'm looking for ways to increase my own efficiencies and delegate, right? And that's what you're trying to do is you're trying to increase efficiency by, delegating and automating components of your relationship, which requires that you unpackage what those components are.
Yeah.
So I had on here a thing about making decisions. Do you think I should get into that? Because I do think that it goes along with frameworks and
Yeah. Let's go
yeah.
there. Yeah.
Okay. So we started here with like job search, right? And we were looking at my template, and I was getting frustrated because I was sitting on a meeting, and I was frustrated because there were these goals that were presented, and I was like, yo, you guys are really bad at goal setting. And I was like, look, you got action, quantity, and condition, right? So this is an Xbox achievement, right? Kill 50 ninjas in 20 minutes, right? So kill 50 ninjas, right? Kill is your action, 50 ninjas is your quantifier, and then 20 20 minutes is your condition, right? So what that creates is a binary trigger. That means that you know if you've gotten it or not. And well, here's the thing. That could even be scalar, right? Oh, well, not everything is like that. I hear you, contrarian motherfucker, right? Not everything is scalar. Well, here's the thing. Is it greater than 50% or less than 50%? Well, if it's greater than 50%, then we've hit it. Oh, is it an increase in 2%? Oh, it's increased 2%, therefore we have hit our target, right? So if you have not reduced your target to a binary pass fail, you are not clear enough on what your actual goal is.
Ooh,
Yeah.
real talk.
Part two is unpacking that goal. So this is a McKinsey framework, right? They call it, what is it? They call it the pyramid. And what it basically is it's just like, you start with one thing and then you split it into a bunch of subcategories and then you split that into a bunch of subcategories, right? That's
Hmm.
how I write essays, by the way. I say, here's my thesis, and then here are my main points that I want to, use to illustrate or this thesis or support this thesis, and then I break down my points into subpoints and evidence, right? My
Yeah,
peel paragraph, right?
that's right.
Point, evidence, explanation, and linkage, right? So all of that, make sure that I tie all of my sub bullets into my overarching thesis statement. And sure enough, that's how all problem solving works, is you basically just break it down into its component parts. And also, this is linear regression. Multiple linear regression is that you have your y, your dependent variable, and then your x's, which is your independent variables. And so which one of your x's, which one of your independent variables is going to have the biggest impact on your dependent variable, and you focus on that thing the most. Voila.
Blah.
That's pretty much all problems.
Yeah.
One of my favorite books is Bulletproof Problem Solving, and that's like they call it disaggregation, which is just unpacking your shit,
Hey, awesome. You're
right?
really good at this. You're excellent at unpacking. I think I've broken something down to the smallest level, and you're like, but wait, there's more.
Right. So here's an example of that, right? Let's say you want to improve your body composition, right? Most people are like, oh, I want to lose weight. Well, that is an unclear goal. How much weight do you want to lose? Well, I want to lose 10 pounds. Well, do you want to lose 10 pounds of what? Do you want to lose 10 pounds of muscle? Do you want to lose 10 pounds of bone? Shit, if you want to lose 10 pounds, we'll just chop an arm off and we good.
Ta-da!
No, I would like to keep my arms, thank you. Worst trainer ever. I was like, look, man, you just said wait. I was trying to accomplish your goal.
Right? You're
Right?
like, you were not specific.
So, if you're trying to improve body composition, right, let's make a clear goal. Decrease body fat to 10% by September 1st. Ooh,
Oh, so
right?
good. So
So
good.
that means you've got to know what your body fat percentage is, right?
Also,
And you've got to know how far you are from that 10% target. And you know how much time you have to accomplish it. And we're filming this in January, right? So that means I got 9 months to cut from wherever I happen to be to 10%. And what that might end up being is like you might be like, oh my God, I don't know how much weight I know. I don't know what to do. It might actually be that you'll hit that target way before September 1st because let's say you're only at 12%. But if you didn't know what your goal was and you didn't know that you needed to measure that, then you wouldn't know how close you are to your fucking goal,
accurate.
right? So
Amen.
our goal, that's our outcome. So what are the activities that produce that outcome? Calorie deficit per day, hours of sleep per night, hours of zone two per week. That's it. If you track those three things, and by the way, here's the thing, it's input, process, output. That's everything. It's just all you doing is making cakes, right? That's why I always say math is a piece of cake because you start out with your ingredients, which are whatever the things that they told you, and then you have your steps, your instructions, right? So carry the two, quadratic formula, PEMDAS, whatever, right? And then do 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 do, and then out comes your answer. That's your
Ta-da.
cake.
Yeah.
Voila. So math is literally just cooking. So if you're good at baking, you're good at math. It's
If you're
the
good
same
at
shit.
math,
You just need to know what the variables are, what the inputs are, and then what are the steps that you have to do in order to process those inputs.
yep.
As a matter of fact, that's also all coding is. So anybody who's like, "Oh man, I don't understand these computers and stuff," it's just that. Same shit. You're
There
just
you go.
having one the output of one process become the input of another process in this really long convoluted chain.
Okay.
Boom. So that's how see look at this. I just help people get lose weight. Congratulations. Now
You're
everybody on this
welcome.
podcast is going to be skinny, skinny minis but in a
They're
healthy
all
way.
going to be out there doing pull-ups in the park like our family. Yeah.
So if that's the thing, then that's the base framework, right? Is that you're trying to find out what activities generate this outcome, right? If the target is goal or getting a job, well, what are the activities that actually correspond to getting a job? So this is how I look for jobs is that I say, okay, I treat it like sales because it is. So you have an offer, which is essentially your target, which is somebody who is saying you can have this job, right? Then you've got the interview, which leads up to the offer, and then you've got the application, which determines your interviews. So what you want to pay attention to is what's my conversion rate between the number of applications that I put out and the number of interviews I've received? And then what's the conversion from interviews to offers? So if you track those two things, then where are the places where you can do activity? You can put out a higher volume of applications, you can increase the quality of your applications, and then you can increase the quality of your interview. So if you do those three activities, then voila, you improve your probability of getting a job dramatically. And here's the crazy thing. When they say it's a numbers game, they ain't lying. So I did this numbers game a bunch of years ago. When I first made this spreadsheet, because by the way, I made a spreadsheet for this, and I actually think I'm going to make this publicly available. I think I'm going to package it a little bit and then put it on Gumroad so people can get it because it's hard out there. The job world is hard out there right now. So what it basically is it's just a log where you can log all of the jobs that you are applying for. And so you say, did you apply? Did you submit the application? Where is it? What's the salary? Just a couple of little information bits. I wanted to make it simple. So I think I put in like 5 pieces of information about any job that you want to apply for. And then once you've applied, you just put in the date and it tells you the date that you've applied. And then that adds it to the count of total applications. And then if you get a resume, then you say, put in the date, or if you get an interview, you put in the date and it says, boom, now you've got an interview. And then it'll tell you what your conversion is. So every list is a job that you are a job prospect. Every application date is now a lead that you've put out, and then it will calculate what your conversion rate is from apps to interviews to offers. And based on that, it will calculate um, how many jobs you need to apply for in order to get hired. So for me, when I was like, oh God, this was maybe 15 years ago, and I was like, maybe it was 10, maybe it was 10 years ago. I don't think it was that long. But I was applying to jobs and I didn't have like crazy amounts of skill. I was actually trying to get more accounting and finance skill. And so I put out 100 apps, and I was in San Francisco and it's competitive as fuck out there. So I put out 100 apps and I got 3 interviews. And I had put like, and so I was like, okay, Now it's like basically every 30 apps will get me an interview. Cool. So how many apps do I need to do in order to get my one offer? And sure enough, now I have this conversion because my interview to offer rate was like 2/3. It was really high. So I have a 1 in 3 chance of getting the offer after I have a two thirds chance. What does that come out to? Wow, I'm talking about math and then
Like
I
a
like can't do this math.
66% chance of getting an offer.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a 66% chance of getting the offer from the interview because once somebody talks to me, they're like, "Oh my God,
Yeah,
why didn't you put this in your resume?" And it's like, I've only got so much
right?
room, you
They
know?
talk to you and they're like, this guy's great. Yeah.
Right. So, I'm much better in person than I am over the phone. So, and again, there's a lot of things that are not very visible based on the job
Yeah.
title that I've
Yeah.
had, because I do
Yeah.
a lot more in my jobs than my title necessarily requires.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So all that to say, I said, this is what I did during COVID. I was like, okay, I need to get a job because I got to pay my bills in the COVID times. And
Mhm.
so I pulled out that handy dandy spreadsheet again, and then I just ran it and I said, okay, I've got this much worth of emergency savings. And so I don't want to completely deplete my emergency fund. So let's shoot for 8 weeks to get a job. And if this is my previous conversion rate, then this is how many apps I need to put out in order to get that. And then how do I improve the quality of my apps as I'm going through so each iteration becomes better than the next? So I'm more likely, if I can get feedback too from the employer about what it is that they're looking for, blah 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 blah. Now I add that into the process to increase my quality. And so sure enough, I do a ton of research on the company, ton of research on who it is that I'm going to be talking to. I've got a whole template of like what questions to ask the interviewer, right? Like all of this stuff. Um, so I got pretty good at this whole like getting hired thing, even though my resume wasn't actually that great. So the spreadsheet tells you what to work on. And I've got thresholds in it to tell you, your resume sucks. Like if you put in this many applications, your resume sucks, or you need to focus on a more specific target customer, right? Target employer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all this to say, um, the application of business principles to your relationships and your household are basically the same. Good management is good, like good leadership requires good management, and good leadership is what makes for good households. And you get that good leadership, that good household by fixing your mojo, which is your ownership, romance, and administration.
Boom.
Boom.
And that's what we're here for. So hit us up.
Putting out the plug. Yeah,
Yeah.
so maybe that's what I'll do is I'll put out my job search spreadsheet. But also back to the unbundling thing, that Tough Talk template. Also that's just free. Nobody's taking advantage of it. I made that thing
I
free.
don't understand. Yeah, it's online right now. Y'all should go get it. It's really good. Your brother used it,
Yeah.
said it was really helpful. Like it's really good. It's out there.
Because it takes the same principle of problem solving and unpackaging. So you say, okay, here's the issue. So the first step is the preparation for your difficult conversation, or the preparation. So let's say you want to implement the fond pack, right, in your partnership, and you're like, oh God, my partner will never go for this. Right? That's exactly what my
Right?
brother said. He's like, yeah, she's not really, she'd look at it and then be like, nah, I want to make my own, you know? And I was like, but will she? But did she?
But
Like,
did
what?
she?
Okay, it's customizable, right? Start with the template and then customize your own shit. But here's the
Yeah.
thing. he's like, well, okay, now I got to present it to her because the last time I talked to her, I was a little aggressive about it, and I was like, yeah, calm down, don't overdo
Chill
it, don't
out.
oversell it. The
Hmm.
whole point is that you want to demonstrate like that you are attentive to what it is that she's looking for, right? And understand what are her objections? What are the things that she doesn't want to do about it? And the goal is to make your partnership better. And so if you can both agree on the goal of making your partnership better, and if you're both stressed out about some shit, and administration is not your strong suit, well then great, let's get some practice with the administration so that we can build the systems so that we can offload stuff to reliable systems instead of having to keep it in our heads, stressing us out, and then making us uncomfortable in the part of our relationship that we
Hmm.
love,
Hey,
right? And the tough talk clarifies what that main issue is. It breaks it down, and then it gives you some tools for how to actually have the conversation without like being a dick about it.
that's really cool.
So use my free shit, people.
Yeah, get on
I
there.
made it for
Use
free.
it and then report back. Tell us how it went. We want to hear about it.
Yeah, because here's the other thing, right? Like I played at Idaho, man. Like I'm used to losing. Like so like if you don't like something, just tell me about it and I'll try and fix it. You know? I'll workshop the problem. And the more feedback I get, right? The more people use this thing, the more feedback, the better I can make it. Right?
Yeah,
I'm not just out here like, hey, let me peddle some shit so I can make a buck. I made this shit for free.
right?
Just
So
tell
go
me how to
use
make
it.
the
Go
free
try
shit
it.
better. Right?
Yeah, go use it and
Yeah.
then tell us about it.
Right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Big fan.
You want to say anything? I feel like I just talked the whole time.
Oh no, I think you did great. I talked. That was good. Also, my microphone's been going in and out, so who knows? Oh no, you froze. Are you there?
Okay. You for Yep. Yep. So she just crapped out. All right. Well, bye everybody. Ignice.